वनचारी जमुनातीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदश्री श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस वैचरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य लील प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस शील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। All glory to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glory to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glory to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So thank you all for joining to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we continue to read from third canto, 7th chapter, text 18. The chapter is titled Vidura's Further Inquiries. Just share the screen here, 1 second. Okay. Shrivedabase.com, Srimad Bhagavatam, 3:7-18. So I'll read the verse. So I can just move this somewhere else. Arthabhavam vanischitya pratithasyapi natmanah tam chapi yashmacharana sevayaham paranude. Arthabhavam vinischitya pratithasyapi natmanah tam chapi yusmacharana sevayaham paranude. अर्थभावं विनिश्चित्य पतितस्यापि नात्मनः तां च अपि युष्मच्चरणा सेवयाहं paranude. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. But, my dear sir, I'm obliged to you because now I can understand that this material manifestation is without substance, artha abhavam, although it appears real. I'm confident that by serving your feet, it will be possible for me to give up the false idea. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The sufferings of the conditioned soul are superficial and have no intrinsic value, like the cutting off of one's head in a dream. Yet, although the statement is theoretically very true, it is very difficult for the common man or the neophyte on the transcendental path to realize practically. However, by serving the feet of great transcendentalists like Maitreya Muni, and by constantly associating with them, one is enabled to give up the false idea that the soul suffers from material pangs. Wonderful verse. Again, very fortunate. Somehow my turn comes once in a while. And somehow, again, the topic here is Vaishnavas. Specifically here, the topic is Guru Vaishnavas. And Srimad Bhagavatam is all about this guru-disciple relationship. The first canto, Sutta Goswami and Shaunaka Adi Rishis. Sutta Goswami is speaking. The Shaunaka Rishi, the others are inquiring from him. And in between these inquiries, like it is happening here in Vidura and Maitreya's case, in between the inquiries, typically the listener, he reviews what he has heard so far. He offers appropriate glorification and praise to the person he is hearing from. And then he further inquires. So if you notice this chapter, in the beginning, Vidura is asking some questions. Maitreya has responded. And this section, which just began 3-4 verses ago, here Vidura is speaking, and he's essentially glorifying Maitreya Muni, his qualifications. Essentially, this verse that we chant, Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. So if you notice here, I don't want to do a full review of this chapter, but if you see the verses at the beginning of this verse, at the beginning of this chapter, yeah. Yeah, text 7. O great and learned one, Vidura is speaking to Maitreya. My mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of these nations, and I therefore request you to clear it up. And then so Sri Maitreya, he is speaking. And then, especially the topic here is the living entity. He's asking, essentially Vidura is asking, the living entity is pure spirit soul. But how does he get caught up, in this material atmosphere? And he considers what's happening in front of him to be real, which is actually not factual. So that's his inquiry. And Maitreya Muni is addressing those inquiries one by one. And one verse that is relevant is text 11. So Maitreya Muni is speaking, as the moon reflected in water appears to the seer to tremble due to being associated with the quality of the water, so the self associated with matter appears to be qualified as matter. So again, this is a classic question. This question comes up again and again. The soul is Satchidananda. But then what is this whole happiness and distress that we keep hearing about and we keep experiencing? Who experiences that? Does the soul experience that? Who experiences that? So here, this text is saying, just like how the moon is in the sky, the moon is steady, it's not trembling. But the moon, when it is reflected in the water and the water is trembling, so it appears that the moon is trembling because the moon, it takes the qualification of water or the matter that it is in. So this is a simple explanation of what happens. So yes, the soul doesn't suffer, but because of the misidentification, because of the false ego, when misidentifies with the body, gross or subtle, not with the soul. And so whatever experience the body or the subtle body goes through, that he considers to be factual. Anyway, but as Prabhupada is saying in this purport, it's easier said than done. Text 17, text 18, sorry, text 18. So Prabhupada is saying, yeah, while this is true, but yet, although the statement is theoretically very true, it is very difficult for the common man or the neophyte in the transcendental path to realize practically. And of course, there are many, many instances where Srila Prabhupada, in most of his lectures, in all of his lectures are typically, comprehensive. He will speak about the most fundamental things about the spiritual, about, spiritual life, that we are not the body with a spirit soul. And then how to get out of this dreamlike state by the process of bhakti. And of course, sometimes people and his disciples would get tired of asking, they would say, Prabhupada, how many times do we need to hear about this, that we are not the body with the spirit soul? And Prabhupada would, challenge them. Oh, okay. So you got it? You got it? That you are not the body, the spirit soul? So anyway, so the absolute truth is right under our nose, but it's very, very difficult. It's so, yeah, it's very obvious, but it's fleeting. We can't get it. So that's what Prabhupada is writing. It's very difficult for the common man or the neophyte in the transcendental path to realize practically that this one, that I'm not this body, I'm the spirit soul. But, however, there is a way out. By serving the feet of great transcendentalists like Maitreya Muni, and by constantly associating with them, one is enabled to give up the false idea that the soul suffers from material pangs. So anyway, so this whole section, as I said, and the next few verses, they're all Guru Shishya relationship, spiritual master disciple relationship is the focus here. And as I said at the beginning, Maitreya is being offered glorification by Vidura, that if anyone can, resolve this conundrum, it's Maitreya. He can do it. Yeah. Yeah. And then to connect it with nectar of devotion, even in the nectar of devotion, when Srila Rupa Goswami talks about the principles of devotional service, especially the application of the principles of devotional service, chapter 6, the first 5 principles, they are all in relation to the spiritual master, right? Yeah. So I'll read them just to remind ourselves. Second, Nectar of Devotion, chapter 6, how to discharge devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami mentions the basic principles as follows. First, accepting the shelter of the bona fide spiritual master. Accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. Adau Guru Padashraya. Then, of course, Saddharma Pricha. Becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service from him. Obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. following in the footsteps of great acharyas, under the direction of the spiritual master, inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness. So these 5 items are all in relation to the spiritual master. Yeah, and elsewhere, even in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the items of knowledge 8 through 12, Krishna is describing the different items of knowledge. Ahimsa kshantir arjavam, amanitvam adambitvam, ahimsa kshantir arjavam. In that one, there are 2 main qualities that Srila Prabhupada speaks about there. Maicha ananya bhakti rabhya vicharini. He says that this is the Swarupa Lakshana, and Acharya Upasana, which is in text 8. So Prabhupada says these 2 are Swarupa Lakshana. There's one Swarupa Lakshana and one says Maicha Ananya Bhakti Rabhya Vicharini. But these 2 qualities are very, very essential to walk on the transcendental path. Yeah. And it's all over Bhagavatam, all over Bhagavad Gita, about the importance of serving Padvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Padiakshantite Jnanam Jnaninas. So here, that's the mood. The mood of Vidura here is he's convinced that Maitreya Muni can solve the problems of his life. He can offer guidance. He can give him direction to once and for all solve the problems of life. And as you can see, even the relationship is an affectionate relationship both ways. The spiritual master, disciple, and from the disciple to the spiritual master also. Like Narottam Das Thakur says, Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. So the disciple, he considers the spiritual master as his well-wishing friend, not like a companion, that kind of a friend, but as his well-wishing. Friends are of different kinds, right? Suhrit and that. So he is a bandhu. He considers him, he's a friend of the fallen. So here, Prabhupada is translated like that. But, my dear sir, so yeah, it's not directly there in the verse, but Prabhupada is catching the mood of Vidura. So this is the mood, and then, the attitude, etc., that one should have to the spiritual master. And this is there all through Bhagavatam. Dhruva Maharaj and Narada Muni, Prahlad and Narada, as I said, Sukadev and Parikshit Maharaj, Navayogendras and Maharaj Nimi, Yudhishthira and Narada. Anyway, the list goes on and on and on and on. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is also filled with such exchanges. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, when they approach Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they come. Sanatan Goswami, he says, actually, everybody calls us great scholars, but I don't even know who I am. And he asks, why am I suffering these threefold miseries? You can, help me understand why this is happening. Similarly, Kapila Dev and Devahuti, this third canto. So all these essential principles are being talked about in Srimad Bhagavatam right from the beginning, and then again and again, it is emphasized. Because this is the sum and substance of spiritual life, the relationship with the Vaishnavas, Guru, Sadhu. Yeah. Anyway, and one last point I want to speak about. So Prabhupada talks about this dream here, like this dream. So, and Srila Prabhupada says there are 2 kinds of dreams. One is, of course, the dream that we see in the night. And that is easy to understand. Like Prabhupada is giving the example that in a dream, we may dream that, there is a pack of lions or, pack of tigers. They're ready to eat your head, eat your head off. Or there is a person with a gun at your head and ready to blow your brains out. But you're seeing the dream. And of course, it's very, very terrifying. And that when you get up, then you understand, oh, it was a dream. So that's a night dream. But Srila Prabhupada talked about the daydream. And the daydream, getting out of the daydream is what is more challenging. And here Vidura is giving us a way out. He's saying the way to get out of the daydream, Jeev Jago, Gaurav Chandra Bole. Bhakti Thakur writes, how long will you sleep in the lap of the witch known as Maya? And he's saying, Enichi Aushadhi Maya Nashibaro Lagi. So I brought this holy name, take it, and sever this daydream. So the spiritual master, he engages us in bhakti, actually. So of course one can say knowledge. He gives us knowledge, but it's not just academic theoretical knowledge. He gives us actually the process of bhakti, because that's the sum and substance of the soul. The soul, Jivera Swarapoya Krishnera Nityadas. So he revives, as Prabhupada said, I have not come here to teach you something new. I've come here to remind you what you have forgotten. So the spiritual master, he teaches the living entity, conditioned soul, that he is not a body, he's a spirit soul. Okay, but what does the spirit soul do? Okay, the spirit soul's natural condition, the dharma of the soul is to serve Krishna. So he engages the aspirant in the devotional service to Krishna. And when he engages in devotional service, then and one engages the devotional service through these senses. Sarv upadi vinirmuktam tatparatve nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. So using the same material body, the material senses, he engages the disciple in the process of devotional service. And through that process of devotional service, one understands that, oh, actually, I'm not this body, I'm the spirit soul. Because one gets, once in a while, by Krishna's mercy, one gets an experience of what it means to live on the soul platform and what it means to experience happiness on the soul platform. So we can start to distinguish, okay, this is happiness on the soul platform. This is happiness on the material platform. And we can understand the nature of it. One is temporary, fleeting. The other is anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnam tashwadanam. So then the disciple can, as Prabhupada says, scientifically, not just sentimentally, he can choose Krishna consciousness. Theoretically, logically, scientifically, he can choose Krishna consciousness, which Prabhupada says is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It is the natural proclivity, the deepest proclivity of the soul is to engage in devotional service. So it happens slowly. Right? It happens slowly. I'm trying to remember that verse. So again. Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishati. How does that verse begin? It's a very nice verse. This comes in the third canto.
Satam Prasangam.
Yeah, thank you so much. Satam Prasangamama Virya Samvido Bhavantirit Karna Rasayana Katha Tajoshanad Ashu Apavarga Vartmani Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishati Satam Prasangamama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Rit Karana Rasayana Katha. So Satam Prasanga. So associating with the Satam, the pure devotees. And what do? Satam Prasanga Mama Virya Samvido. They discuss about my glories. Bhavanti Rit Karana Rasayana Katha. So this Rasayana is medicinal, used in Ayurveda, Rasayana, to heal people. Bhavanti Rit Karana Rasayana Katha. So it enters through the ear holes, but it reaches the heart. Bhavanti Rit Karana Rasayana Katha. Tad Joshanat Ashu Apavarga Vartmani. Very quickly, it invigorates it. Joshanat, it revives the conditioned soul. Ashu Apavarga Vartmani. Ashu means very quickly. Apavarga Vartmani, he begins to walk on the path of Pavarga. Pavarga is ma. Prabhupada has taught that. And Apavarga Vartmani, Prajoshanath, Ashu, Apavarga Vartmani, Shraddha, Ratir, Bhaktir, Anukramishyati. So gradually, there are different stages of devotional service, beginning from Shraddha to Rati, and Bhakti means Shuddha Bhakti. Love means love of God, it means pure love of God. So like that. And there are many, many verses in Bhagavatam. Rahuguna in Jada Bharat, I forgot. There also it comes up. The dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotee, if one takes a bath, not literally, but it means hearing from the pure devotee, following his instructions, and ultimately, living our life according to the pure devotee. So, and with one last thing about Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada also was given this mission impossible by his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Prabhupada was a grihastha at that time. And then he said, take this message of Lord Chaitanya to the West. And then Prabhupada thought, how is it going to happen? It's impossible. It's not possible. He gave many reasons at that time to Bhakti Siddhanta as to how there are other priorities in life than spreading the message of Lord Chaitanya. But Bhakti Siddhanta defeated those arguments. And then Prabhupada accepted defeat. He said, yes, the mission of Lord Chaitanya is in the right hands, Bhakti Siddhanta's hands. And Prabhupada was, thinking deeply about the instruction that he gave, and how to do it, whether he can do it, whether he cannot do it, things like that. But he kept that instruction always in his heart. And then one day, many years later, Prabhupada was reading Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary in Bhagavad Gita 241. Devasayatmika buddhi rekeha gurunandana. And then there, Bhakti Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that, I'm paraphrasing here, but the spiritual master's instruction are one's life and soul. One should treat that as one's life and soul. And then practically that verse, propelled Prabhupada. Whatever inhibitions, hesitations he had, he just went away. And he said, I have to do this. And then, of course, many things happened. Srila Rupa Goswami and other, acharyas even came in his dream or gave him darshan and said, you go on, we are there with you. You just get on the boat, just get started, we're there. So anyway, it's part of the relationship with the spiritual master, inquiring from him and then offering him some service, whatever we can do. Then this mystery, the mysteries of spiritual life, they unfold. Beginning from, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. We just have a theoretical understanding. What is this holy name? that this is non-different than Krishna. So many things we know theoretically, but the realization is not yet there. But all that can be accessed easily by serving and glorifying and serving a bona fide spiritual master and the Vaishnavas. Okay, so I'll pause there and thank you for this opportunity to read Bhagavatam and share with others. Hare Krishna. Any comments, any questions, anything? Anyway, I particularly like such sections because I like philosophy also, but these sections, wherever they are, people ask the spiritual master disciple exchanges, Vaishnava exchanges. When the Vaishnavas reveal their heart, the Lord reveals his heart, etc.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this wonderful section covering all the great references of regarding taking shelter of the spiritual master. But as this verse says, it's very difficult for the jiva soul to put away the sufferings and the pains. Yesterday, Premananda Mataji was saying how the soul carries the impressions even to next life of the impact of an accident suffered or some very terrible, painful things they are carrying even to next life. At least we have lived in the association of devotees and try to understand that we are not this body, the spirit soul, and that's a very fortunate situation. And associating with devotees like you and other great devotees. One is very thankful for the association and for the reminders, to cast away this feeling of whatever pain or suffering and rise to the Anandamaya platform. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. We are Anandamaya. Yeah. Anandamaya.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I think this will come up again in the Srimad Bhagavatam at the end of this canto, third canto. Yeah, Devahuti is being instructed by Kapila Dev that this process of bhakti, as you're saying, it has the potency to dissolve even these subtle elements, the false ego, ending with the false ego. And then, as you're saying, all these subtle impressions that are there. Yeah, we should pray to the Lord. I pray to the Lord. I mean, as you're saying, there are so many impressions of this life itself, which run our life, and what to speak of others. And all those things, as you're saying, as Bhagavad Gita explains, they get all folded in. And at the end of the life, one takes, it's like a backpack that we carry, subtle backpack.
Yes.
What glorious things are happening. Anyway, this is just one devotee's mother, anyway, in India. She passed away. Of course, from a Vaishnava background, she was involved with the Ramanandi Vaishnavas. Mother is, of course, initiated by our Guru Maharaj. So she had cancer a year ago, and her passing away was glorious. She left the body in Purushottam Mass on Dvadashi. She wanted to leave on Ekadashi or Dvadashi, chanting the holy name, hearing Brahma Samhita, it's all as you're saying. I mean, without devotees, where would we be? And her son-in-law, Damodar Vilas. Anyway, it's quite an interesting. Anyway, I don't think they'll mind. 4 or 5 years ago, when we had the Ayodhya Yatra in Nashik, so they live in Nashik because Tikrit's mother who passed away. So we had given them a Bhagavatam set. That was like 2018, 19. I don't remember, 19 maybe. And then about a year ago, Damodar Vilas Prabhu told her, finish the Bhagavatam, finish the Bhagavatam. So she was sort of in the 11th canto, towards the end of her life, 11th canto, clock is ticking. So her absorption, yeah, so this is mercy of devotees. Yeah, the situation was very painful. The body was practically finished, but her consciousness, yeah. So then I was thinking, wow, if it's worth it, if that's what it takes for us to become Krishna conscious, that's all right. Yeah, but devotees association is required. We can't do it alone. And similarly, what happened recently with Jyotirmaya Prabhu and Sachisutra Prabhu. Yeah, so we need Ramananda Roy and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have this amazing discussion. What is the goal of life? But there are many more questions actually. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Roy, what is the most unfortunate thing in this world? He says the most unfortunate thing in this world is to not have association of the devotees. That's it. Nothing else. So all these other things that we are thinking, misfortune, good fortune, who knows? But this one is definitely true. So then, of course, then finding proper association and taking association, and then it's a razor's edge, right? Vaishnava association, not committing offenses, taking it properly. But that's our ticket. That's our ticket to back home to quarter. That's what I said in Festival the Holy Name also. I don't know, the holy name or this or that, but to the degree we can understand the glories of Vaishnavas and offer proper respects to Vaishnavas, I think we are on a good start.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Hare Krishna. I think we should end here. Thank you, Mataji. So we'll continue tomorrow. Somebody will continue tomorrow. Hare Krishna.